Hello, my name is Jeffrey Zielinski. I am co-founder of the Serviceberry Group and host of our newly minted Branch Network podcast.
And I am Hannah, Jeff's sister-in-law, and I am the head of marketing and social media.
Awesome. Before we go too far into the weeds, I do have to make a special shout out to your sister, my wife, Patty. Patty has really been helping us put the vision into motion, helping with all of the operations, setting up meetings with attorneys, really, again, putting the vision into motion. And really without her behind the scenes leadership, kind of bringing it all together, we wouldn't be where we are today and recording our first episode. So it's really exciting. And honestly, without her kind of helping us put all the pieces together, I don't think we'd be sitting here right now recording this. So
shout out, Patty.
Shout out, Patty. Really appreciate all your work and believing in me, because God knows I have 1,000,001 ideas. And so this is one we care a lot about, and really excited to be on this journey.
So to get things rolling, I thought we should talk about what we're doing with the Serviceberry Group and why we're doing this work and how we intend to make a difference.
Sure. So what's funny is that this episode was actually your idea. We had, I don't know, maybe 50 ideas, 100 ideas, whatever it was on this sheet of paper, talking about all the different things we wanted to discuss and goals that we were setting for ourselves. You know, what are the topics that are most pertinent? How are we going to get this off the ground? How are we going to create scale? And Hannah said, time out. Before we do all of that,
what are we doing?
What are we doing? Shouldn't we just kind of lay a foundation and talk a little bit about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we intend to make a difference? And so that's exactly what we're doing. Thank you, Hannah, for coming up with that idea and kind of setting us straight here. But I'll take a stab at it. What we're doing. So the Branch Network podcast and the social media presence that we intend to create is really phase one of what we'd like to build. But the reason that we're doing that is because we're trying to build a network, Branch Network podcast, of people within the special needs community, and even outside of the special needs community, to join us on this journey to create a space of inclusion, a community to help lift each other up. Because I'll tell you, going through this and sort of various different mediums, there's times where you feel isolated. There's times where you feel confused, and we want to have a space and leveraging social media as a means to create that network so people have a place to go. Through the podcast, we'll talk a little bit more about it. We have a huge range of topics that we'd like to talk about, whether that's, the emotional aspect of things, IEPs.
What is an IEP? For those listening that don't know.
Probably makes sense. So an IEP is an individualized education program. There's a lot of acronyms, I guess, in this space. But we want to have a series on IEPs and individualized education programs because, I'll get into the why in just a second. That's part of the reason why we're actually doing this. We want to talk about, sort of the financial ramifications. How do you plan, for both the family and the individual? Traveling with folks with disabilities and special needs. There's any range of things that we want to talk about from a what perspective. Again, because this is the stuff that we have ever felt, the stuff that we have ever bumped into that we think you all might, have some questions on. And so it kind of brings me to the why. Really, it was at this table, Patty and I were having a conversation going through that IEP process. Now, mind you, special needs is something that's always meant a lot to us. Growing up with Tony,
my uncle,
your uncle, probably more so your brother than anything else. So it's always meant a lot to us. But now as parents and going through this process, again, you're kind of going through the journey from a different point of view, different necessities, different, level of advocacy and things that you find yourself doing by default. And so going through the IEP process in particular, which in the beginning was somewhat isolating, it was very confusing. a lot of ambiguity, a lot of words and concepts that we've never had to deal with before. But it was our most recent experience where our child started the school year, as you would remember, in a classroom that just was not conducive to his needs. And this had gone on for a couple months. I could go on and on. We'll save it maybe for another episode, but every day felt like we had a knot in our stomach because as parents, we knew what our child needed and we felt he wasn't getting that. So going through the IEP process, and here we are at this very table, thumbing through emails, reading through our rights, thumbing through, stacks of paper, trying to make sense of everything, trying to, figure out what's up and what's down. Kind of just looked at each other and said, gosh, like if we feel this way about the process that little old us are going through, God knows there has to be so many other people that feel the exact same way, have had these questions, will have these questions, went through a similar journey and, how did they get what they needed? And kind of went down this adventure of, well, how do we find this place? Well,
it didn't exist.
You find that this place kind of doesn't exist. And, it's not that it's not there, but it's kind of fragmented. You go to different places and there really wasn't that community, I think, that we were looking for.
That is why we are
here. And that is precisely why we're here. Because we felt if it doesn't exist or if it doesn't exist in a packaged way that we find beneficial, why don't we do it?
Yeah.
Why don't we do it ourselves? And so how we intend to make a difference? Well, again, I would start by emphasizing that this is phase one of a much bigger vision that we have and goals that we're setting out for ourselves. And we're only going to achieve those goals with the community that we're building now through social, through the podcast and the sort of various mechanisms of outreach. One of the things that I'm very excited to talk about is we're not there yet, but the phase two, which we're hoping to do some point this year, is start a nonprofit organization as an extension of the Serviceberry Group. That nonprofit organization will use proceeds to pay in part or in full costs associated with inclusive group play, group activities, learning, gym classes, art classes.
We thought of everything, horseback riding, everything.
Literally everything, because we really want it to be as inclusive as possible. Not just inclusive from a populist perspective, but inclusive in terms of the things that we'd like to be able to offer through the nonprofit. And so that's a phase two. That's something we have on our roadmap for this year. And we're really, really excited about that. And so again, to offset the costs for family and their children. And part of that idea, Hannah, you would remember, actually came from this whole IEP process. I was in a parents group meeting some point late last year, and we were just having a conversation between the parents. And I remember one of the fathers saying, like, there's just not a place for my child to go to play with other kids, that's in a sort of structured place unless I drive 30 to 45 minutes outside of town.
Jeff's light bulb turned on at that moment. He was like, ding.
Wait a second. We're on to something here. And
it's much needed. It's so needed.
100%. One of the things that Patty and I have observed during this entire process is that so much is spent on the individual. Mm-hmm. And that's obviously a necessity. But I feel like, I don't want to say it gets neglected because it doesn't get neglected, outwardly, but something that I find to be somewhat of a deficiency is the social aspect. We'll probably talk more about that, as we go on here, but, it's so important for the social development of these kids to be in line, at least as best as it can be in line with the individual development so that we can make sure we're enhancing, their likelihood for successful long-term outcomes. And so that was a big driver for the nonprofit's mission. And again, more to come on that, but we're really excited about that piece of it.
Yeah. So another question is, How did we get the Serviceberry name and logo?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So Google, kind of. I mean, honestly, it was ChatGPT or Google. I think it was Google. But yeah, so Patty and I decided we wanted to do this. You jump on board, and now we're all the gears are turning. We know what we want to do, throwing a million ideas on a board, and it kind of occurred to Patty and I one night, like we don't have like a brand, we don't have a name, we don't. How are we going to draw people to us and do that in a sort of cohesive way that states the mission? And so no joke, was sitting on the couch and just like Googled, like, what is a resilient plant?
Who Googles that?
Exactly. Because I don't know. I just thought it maybe made sense. But you know what? It worked.
It works.
So the Serviceberry is a type of tree, if you haven't figured it out by looking at our logo. And it's
beautiful.
It is a beautiful tree, and it is a tree that demonstrates characteristics of resiliency, strength through all of the different seasons, has these beautiful flowers that bloom in the spring, edible berries.
Don't know how that correlates, but yeah, sure.
But I don't know. That doesn't really fit into this a whole heck of a lot, but there's edible berries, these sort of beautiful fall leaves, strong branches that hold up snow during the winter. And so it kind of, to us, the Serviceberry tree had these characteristics of the family and the individuals, the children, the people with special needs that we intend to serve. And so we thought it was reflective, symbolic of the community that we are so proud to be a part of. But it does have a double meaning. If you haven't figured it out, Serviceberry has the word service baked into it. And with everything of my integrity, we want to be a organization of service. We want to service the families. We want to provide and give back to the folks with special needs, to their families, to their loved ones. And so with everything that we have, we intend to be an organization of service at the end of the day. So double meaning. Now the logo was Patty's idea. Once we figured out, we wanted to be the Serviceberry Group, we're like, okay, so how do we illustrate this? And Patty had the brilliant idea of, could we show the different seasons on the tree in sort of one image? And that's what you have. You have a Serviceberry tree, or at least some rendition of it, through the different seasons, displaying those characteristics.
Beautiful. I love it. So another question is, why does community matter and involvement?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually probably talked a little bit about that already. Community, I think, can be broken down in a lot of different ways, but for the purposes of this particular conversation, I think about it two ways. One, again, I kind of hit on it, community for the individual, right? Involvement and inclusion are so important. They are absolute mainstays to an individual's likelihood of long-term and future success. Why? Because it enables their participation, because it warrants their input, and community by default should enhance those things. And so from an involvement perspective, I think particularly as we think about children and intervening when they're in those formidable ages, is so important to their ability to make friends, is so important to their ability to participate with the group, with everybody else.
Not only for them, but also for the parents, to talk to people that are going through similar things, just everything.
No, that really is such a good point. It's actually kind of half the reason we're doing this, right? Yeah. Because we need to have a place where we feel that we're included, and we can talk about the feelings that we're going through. And community is a big part of that. I think about it from where we sit to the extent that participation and community matter, because it gives a lens into this journey that we're on. You do a lot of work with Night to Shine, the church, some of the volunteerism that you've done over the years. So you know how important that participation in community is. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my church puts on a prom. It's called Night to Shine, and it's by the Tim Tebow Foundation. Right. And it's a beautiful prom that they've put together for children with special needs. But you can volunteer. You can be a hairdresser. you could shine their shoes, you can be a buddy, and just spend the night with them. It's so beautiful to watch. Just
And like, what's the reaction of the kids?
Literally smiling the whole night. Like, yeah, so much fun.
It's a moment to break out of their shell. I love listening to you talk about it. It's actually coming up.
Yeah, it is soon.
Yeah.
Very soon.
So you, Mom, and Patty will be
so excited.
Yeah, I know. But you're so right. It again, I said it kind of puts a lens on this journey that we're on. But I think you had mentioned this, like, it helps your own personal character, right?
It does, yeah.
You
patience,
exactly,
literally everything.
Exactly, and witnessing the joy, it's indescribable how rewarding that is. You know it probably better than anybody, but you just become part of something. And I think that's why community is just so important, because, everyone's busy. Everyone's got a million things going on. But when you really become part of something so special and so rewarding, it just takes your breath away. And there's a real...
Speechless, literally speechless.
I'm usually at a loss for words, but...
He is right now.
I sort of am right now. It's exceptional. And again, it kind of helps strengthen that community. And when the community is strong, the participants and the folks that we are looking to serve are stronger too. So it means a lot.
Yeah. So what are we looking forward to, and how can people find our content and get more involved?
I would probably ask the head of marketing and social media how people might want to reach out and get involved.
So you can share, subscribe.
Yeah, do all the social media stuff.
Things.
Yeah. But look, there's a lot of different things. All kidding aside, you're exactly right. First and foremost, following us on social media, listening to the podcast, share away. We really want this community to be grassroots. So if you or somebody might find this interesting, pass it along. We want to get the message out. That's how we're going to build this channel.
We also want to hear from you guys.
Bingo.
What topics would you guys like to hear? If we didn't name anything, or if you just thought of something that we didn't mention, please feel free to reach out to us and share it.
100%. We're only going to be as good as the participation is. And I think that's important because, again, I go back to the why. When we were having these questions, that was just that sequence of events that led to the questions that we had. Well, the community and this journey that we're on, it spans really, really wide. There's no shortage of topics. There's no shortage of questions, emotions, things that you're probably thinking about that we want to incorporate in what we're doing to give, again, a sense of inclusion, a sense of community, but really to help lift each other up. So I'm really looking forward to building that community personally. I'm really looking forward to, and we've seen it already, like everyone we talk to.
Reaching out to us already.
Yeah, everyone we talk to about this little idea that we had.
My cousin knows someone, my uncle, just everyone.
Yeah, people that I know professionally for my job, asking to make introductions to family and friends. The conversation you were having at the gym literally over the weekend, it really is awesome. And so I am really looking forward to that part of it.
I'm really excited for all of it.
I'm looking forward to the nonprofit. That's going to be, a phase 2 build out, but there'll be more to come. We mentioned IEPs. One thing that I'm working on personally is building a document with hyperlinks and access to your individual Bill of Rights as it relates to education.
Those will all be linked on our socials too, so you can easily access them.
Yeah, because, you'll find every parent has a Bill of Rights as it relates to their child being in the public education system. Now, they're required to give that to you, but making sense of it is another topic. And so that's something that I'm working on personally. There's just so much. There's just so much in terms of content, in terms of community building that I'm really looking forward to, and really doing it together as a community. I know I'm excited.
I am super excited.
We hope you're as excited as we are. Anything else that you could think of before we wrap up?
I think we're good.
Cool. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for watching and listening in.
We're really excited if you can't tell. And we look forward to seeing you in our next episode and following along. All the best, everybody. Take care.